welcome to Swanzey Then and Now. And Lee,
Yeah.
I think you're going to start this show off.
Oh, this show?
Yes.
This show is about the Old Homestead, or let's call it Joshua Whitcomb, because the Old Homestead is the sequel to the Joshua Whitcomb. So, Denman Thompson, our most famous son,
yes,
if you will,
yeah,
created this play. So.
And it's all about people from Swanzey.
It's about real people from Swanzey for the most part. I think there's a little bit of fibbing going on in some of it.
Well, he has to go a little ways, yeah.
You know, welcome to Swanzey Then and Now.
Yes.
As we get going on this one. This is something that's been part of my family for, well, since 1939.
Or further.
And I didn't understand as a young kid and as an older kid, I didn't understand how closely tied we were to it. But my great-great-great-grandfather was part of the character of Joshua Whitcomb that Denman Thompson used to make this character. So I didn't know that, but, you know, so that's where it goes.
It's in your blood.
And I ended up playing Joshua Whitcomb at the end of the performance there. Yeah. So it was kind of neat in that respect, but... So anyway, if you don't know who Denman Thompson is, we wanted to spend this show trying to give you an idea of what Denman Thompson did. I mean, we could talk a whole show about the revival. We could talk a whole show about some of the goose and some of the pranks that we've pulled on the revival, but we won't do that.
That'll be another show.
That'll be another show.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd talk about Denman Thompson, because Denman Thompson at 17 leaves Swanzey to become, to seek his fame and fortune.
And didn't he only have an 8th grade education?
Yeah, something like that.
Because he was at the academy, I believe.
He went to the academy for the 3 years or 3 winters, I think, that he was here.
Right. So then he went off.
And then actually, if you ever go up into the 3rd floor of the library.
And there is a 3rd floor of the library.
There is a little stage. You don't even notice it. It's like a foot high off the floor. That's the first stage that Denman Thompson ever stood on. I mean, I've been up there once.
Got the bug.
Yeah. So, but he goes off. He becomes an acrobat in a circus and whatever. And, through a couple of years of doing this and doing that, he finally gets a part in the play, and his life is off. But most of his life as an actor is in Toronto, Canada. That's where he marries his wife, Maria Bolton, and that's where he has his kids. All his kids are born in Toronto. Yeah. So, his life as an actor, and you got to understand, acting back in his day was not like what you think of it today.
Right. It was more minstrel kind of.
You had theaters around, and he worked at the Royal Lyceum. Is where he worked at. And they would have stock actors, and those were the ones that did all the bit parts, into the different plays that they did. And the big, the big actors would travel from theater to theater doing the lead parts. So that's what Denman did. He didn't make a lot of money. I mean, he had debts, but he gets to like 55, I think it is, 55, 56, and he gets a bout of rheumatism. He's in Pittsburgh, and he's laid up. He can't do what he wants because of rheumatism, and I think we're going to call that more like arthritis, I think, of today. Acting back in those days is a little bit more physical, and he used to dance, do jigs and reels. So he came up in his mind of back living in Swanzey, thinking about the characters, and he weaved a little story, a skit. The sketch was like 20 minutes or 25 minutes.
And that's Joshua Whitcomb.
Joshua Whitcomb, an old hayseed New England farmer. And then he went across this country. Back in 1875 is when he first puts on Joshua Whitcomb. And he does that until 1886, so for a good 10 years he's out there doing this one sketch, which he moves to 3 acts, and I've actually there's one that I've seen that's 4 acts.
So
but
people could relate to this, though,
yes,
because
they could.
they were from the farms.
Yeah.
They knew what it was like. They had gone to the cities in some cases,
Yeah.
and they knew what the feelings were. And so that's why I think this play did so well, or both plays.
And it did really well because of that. Because everybody, it's the industrial age.
Right. People don't know about this now so much.
People left, New England, and if you look at the census records for New England in the 1870s, 1880s, we're losing people left and right.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have a bunch of discontinued roads that used to have farms on the hills and stuff?
Right.
They're not there anymore. People left, and they went there. He brought, with such realism to the stage, their childhood memories.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people went to it. He had everything down to. Have you been to Sturbridge Village?
Mm-hmm.
You go there in the fall, and they're stringing up apples to
Right.
dry them.
Right.
He had those. We used to have them in the play. We used to do it ourselves, and it's a mess. You can't keep it from one year to the next. So,
Yeah.
but that's how the set of realism that he set to the stage.
Right.
So that people would just look at it. That's just like my house.
Right.
What I remember.
Yeah, and even me, I had some grandparents that lived in Walpole, and I remember some of the things that they did. So I could relate to that still. Even in the 60s and 70s and 80s, I could still relate to that. But now kids are getting a little bit away from that, so they may not be able to relate so much. But a lot of our relatives and our aunts and uncles, if they're still around, do remember these things still.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's look at some of the photographs that we have for people today.
All right. Well, this is
A poster?
well, it's not a poster. It actually, is the program from East Hampton, Mass. Town Hall, where he did one of his Joshua Whitcomb performances, and that one actually has 4 acts in it. Mm-hmm. So this is toward the end of it, and unlike the Old Homestead, Joshua Whitcomb does not take place in New York City. It's at the farm in Swanzey and in Boston. So it's a difference. He does go to the city, but his city experiences are in Boston. Not in New York.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have a picture. This is him as a younger gentleman?
This is a young Denman Thompson, or younger Denman Thompson.
And that's his daughter?
This is his daughter, Annie Kirkpatrick,
And there's her as little Annie? Or?
That's her as Rickety Ann.
Rickety Ann, that's right.
She
but
would play,
Annie, Rickety Ann.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And she would play Rickety Ann. I think she'd also play in the second act, too, as Nellie Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is Fritzy Ridgway.
She looks like a real actress.
Yeah, it is. This is the Old Homestead was put to film at least twice, and I think 3 times. This is one of the times with Fritzy Ridgway in one of the lead roles. She's actually, I think, Rube's girlfriend in this version of it.
Mm-hmm. And these are a few lithographs.
Yeah, lithographs were big in the promotion of Joshua Whitcomb. Everyone I've seen, and I actually have one on the wall in my house, it says the same thing, Denman Thompson as Joshua Whitcomb. So are they back to Joshua Whitcomb, the play, or are they just done during the Old Homestead and Denman Thompson as Joshua Whitcomb?
Because he's the same character in both plays.
Yeah,
so.
and pretty much everybody that knew him said that he wasn't really acting. He was just
being himself
on stage.
Yeah. So this is the back of a postcard, and it just describes a little bit about the Old Homestead play.
I'm trying to squint to see that just a little bit.
It tells a few of the characters.
It's the heart of the Monadnock region. Because I've seen both of these. The cards like this were done by the Old Homestead Association when they were doing the revival. But I've also seen them done by Frank Whitcomb, because when Denman died in 1911, Frank, his son, carried it forward and kept it going. Actually, the actor that played it in 1933 had played for Frank Thompson. He'd played the lead role. So.
Yeah. All right, let's see, what else do we have? Another lithograph?
Yeah. That's...
What scene would that be?
That is
That
corn.
from
That's
Josh
corn husking, and if you
That's
know,
going to be in Josh Whitcomb, then. It can't be in the Old Homestead.
If you know anything about Old New England, you know, the corn that we had was more Indian corn-like.
Right.
And the one that shucked a red ear got to kiss the lady. So if you got a red ear,
yeah.
And that's part of that. But that's an old New England.
I didn't know that. We'll have to keep that in mind. All right. Now we have a flyer of some kind at the Opera House. Is this the Lyceum? Or
no, that Opera House, I believe, is in Manchester.
Okay.
That's another one that I have at home, and I believe it's Joshua Whitcomb done. What I uncovered is that there were several troops of the Old Homestead traveling the country, and when Josh wasn't playing, when Denman wasn't playing Josh, he had an understudy playing him in the Old Homestead. He'd take a portion of Joshua Whitcomb and do it on vaudeville stages. So as part of a vaudeville show.
Right.
So, I mean, those are things that I didn't know about. You just start searching and finding different little things out there, and you find out, what was he doing? But that's how he did it. He'd continue. So.
Okay, so we have another photograph of Josh Whitcomb. And then another Josh Whitcomb.
That right there is the Well, that's Joshua Whitcomb, but that, I believe, is in New York City. And when I look at that, I found in actually a book for the Whitcombs. And so I believe, I've always been told that Captain Otis went to see the performance. Yeah, my grandmother, there's a cane in the that was presented to him by Denman at a show. And it was always said that it was at the Old Homestead. Well, it can't be, because my great-grandfather, or great-great-great-grandfather, died in 1882. The Old Homestead starts in 1886. So he didn't see the Old Homestead, but he did see, or probably saw, the Joshua Whitcomb, and that's in New York. The other story my grandmother always told is that the third act in front of the Grace Church, with the bells and the music and everything, that comes from that trip, because Captain Otis just fell in love with the church and the music, so they kept it in.
Okay, we're going to have to go a little faster. All right, so let's see, what else do we have? Now, this has got to be Joshua Whitcomb.
This is Joshua Whitcomb. This is, he is, right now, the girl is Julia Wilson, and we'll hear that name later, but she is taught, and that's her mother on her deathbed, and Joshua Whitcomb right there. I found that picture at one point, and it's like, well, that's kind of neat.
Okay, now this must be during the anniversary, the 200th anniversary.
Yeah, we put this in to show you the City Hall. They played 3 acts. They did not play act number 2, and I don't know the reason why they didn't do that one, but possibly because of furniture or something, I don't know, or sets or whatever. But they played 3 acts of it, and it's sold out.
Yeah. And that's why they had to do it in Keene instead of Swanzey.
And there was no place big enough in Swanzey.
Right. Yeah.
So.
So this is the beginning of the show.
Right. This is the first act.
Yeah.
This is actually at the Potash Bowl, the old stage.
Yeah. And there's the Potash Bowl.
Potash Bowl with the old sign.
Yeah. And this is a little bit later in that scene, it looks like.
Yeah, with the farmers.
Yep. And then you've got the farmers all getting together and talk. Oh, actually, this one, that looks like Josh Whitcomb maybe in there.
Yeah, he's in the middle.
Or Denman Thompson.
And that is probably from the old cast.
Right.
I haven't seen that picture before.
No.
This right here is Willard Thompson playing Uncle Josh.
Uh-huh. And then that scene there. Do you still have that wallpaper?
No.
Because it looks a lot like that.
Well, it looks somewhat like that, but that was a light green.
Oh, okay.
It's now red.
Yes.
We don't have the chandelier anymore.
Uh-huh.
But all that set, all the scenery, all got burned up in 1978.
Right.
So.
You still have that statue? Is that
The statue?
statue?
Yeah,
Yep.
statue made it through.
Yep. Okay, then you got the boys.
Then we get the boys again around the...
Yeah. And you used to have a lot of people go to this play. And when people go now, or in the very near past, it was not like this. It's so sad because it's such a great event.
Yeah, they, as you see in this picture, the hill was
It was full. Yeah. The next picture too.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, can you imagine? Wouldn't that be lovely to be able to perform in front of them? Okay, here's the church and the Salvation Army.
And the Salvation Army.
Yeah. And then we have is this the cop or I think this is the cop.
At this point, no. That's the beginning of the third act with Henry and Josh.
Oh, they're just talking.
Yep.
Yes.
And we go to the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
This is an old picture right here.
Yeah.
This is back in Denman's day.
Yeah.
Fire
That's so
alarm
funny. Yeah.
And the fire alarm has sounded.
Yeah. I love this scene. I don't know. I can't remember who the people are that play it, but they always seem like they have so much fun.
I played Seth for a number of years.
Yeah.
And we always had we fooled around a lot in rehearsals, but we always had so much fun doing it.
Right. Yeah. And then again, let's see, the third act.
That's your Salvation Army. We'll get the drunk hanging on to the light pole.
Yeah. And there's the Old Homestead. I think that was going to be the movie.
Yeah, this was the flyer for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And this was actually filmed. This one was filmed in Winchester and Swanzey. So,
Is there still a copy around?
I don't know. I want to search
There's got
around
to be.
to see if it, but it's done back in the day that stuff could be. I remember
You never know.
the early films were like that, really flammable.
Right. But Cheshire TV does transfer, so if it can be transferred and anybody's got a copy, it might be interesting. Okay, so let's see. This is more recent.
More
recent, but not.
Yeah.
This is
This is Gus.
Gus before you.
Yep.
Yep. And looks like practice.
Yeah, that's rehearsal.
Rehearsal. Yep. And more. I love the scenery. It's just, I think what I love about it is that you know what to anticipate once you've seen it, and you wonder how are they going to do it this year. So, yeah.
Well, I know how we did it because we would. That's me as Seth.
Yep. Yep. I remember that one.
I mean, we ad-libbed a lot in rehearsals.
Yeah.
Too much so for mystery sometimes, but hey.
Yeah.
There is my great-great-great-grandfather, Captain Otis Whitcomb.
Yeah.
Now this to show you, here's a headstone for Captain Otis. They were real people. Uncle Josh came out of flesh and blood from people that lived and walked around this town, and A lot of people just don't know that.
Right.
It's not like it's a sitcom that'd be out there. It's sort of like Cheers. I relate it to Cheers. You know, everybody knows your name and whatever, and everybody goes down to the Cheers place in Boston. But hey, we had that back before TV.
Right.
It was on stage. It walked across all this country. We actually have what would I call it? The schedule or whatever of a year of what they did, where they traveled.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. I mean, they started in the fall, went all the way through the winter, took a week or two off in Christmas, and then went all the way to May.
Wow.
That was their season.
It's no wonder he had such a big house and
And it's all
made such a name for himself.
and it's all done by rail, too.
Right.
You know, they
Yeah.
went from rail to
Yeah.
one place to the next.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of headstones. And Lee, you do
These,
you do a tour of the cemeteries?
Yeah, the world famous cemetery tour that we do during Old Home Day at noontime. This is Rhoda. Kind of hard to see her standing
Rhoda
up.
is what? How is he related?
Rhoda Holbrook is Aaron and Joshua Holbrook's sister. They all lived together at the Holbrook farm up on Winch Hill, the house, the brick house that sadly burned this winter. But so that's the other part. And Rhoda was the Aunt Matilda. That's the character he pulled out from Aunt Matilda. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, I went to the play every day of my life, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize until I got told Josh and Tildy are brother and sister and lived in the same house.
Huh.
You always think the old guy, the old girl, they're husband. No, they weren't. They were brother and sister. They lived together.
Am I thinking of it?
Rubes,
Yeah.
it's his son.
Right.
Never says it's Tildy's son.
Yeah.
It's, Rube and Tildy, or not Rube and Tildy, but Josh and Tildy were brother and sister.
Huh.
That's, and that goes back to the way things were
Right.
back in the 1800s. That would happen.
Okay. So we have a picture of Denman Thompson as he's getting older and more sophisticated and has a little bit more money in the bank.
Looks the part.
Yes.
Yeah,
and he does look like Uncle Josh, doesn't he?
Oh, yes. And he paid off his debts.
Yeah.
If somebody had a debt, he'd pay him.
Yeah. And then this is a lamp that was in his house?
Not in his house.
Okay.
This is a gift, a wedding gift. Remember I told you about Julia, Julia Wilson, I think it was.
Yes.
When she got married, she was an actress in his troupe. When she got married, that was the wedding gift to her.
Oh, beautiful.
A silver lamp.
Yeah.
That was given back to the Old Homestead Association and actually went in the second act every year. We'll probably end up at the museum.
Right. At least it's going to be saved. Okay, and then this is unbelievable. Look at, I mean, really, that is a big spread.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like he had a birdhouse, a bird building.
Well, I don't know about a bird building.
Well, that brown, the one with the brown cover on it.
It was like
almost.
there was like a gazebo
kind of.
there.
And he's got another little house on the side, and he's got barns, and he's got all kinds of buildings.
But if you looked at that in different pictures, he has, there's a dollhouse, which we have to do some work on the dollhouse to talk about.
That's still standing, right?
Yeah, it's still standing, but they increased it like 3 times bigger than it was. That's where his granddaughter and great-granddaughter played. It was a house.
Playhouse?
It was a playhouse. And it's called the Dollhouse.
Yeah.
So, and I actually got to go into it with her, his granddaughter. Actually, I think it might have been great-granddaughter, but she remembers playing in it. It had a working gas stove or small black stove, we can only think.
Right.
But he had a greenhouse.
Yes.
To plant flowers and have them.
Yep.
fountains,
Yeah.
a large dog on the statue of a large dog.
Yeah.
Barns too numerous to
Yeah.
mention.
Yeah.
So,
It was a beautiful property.
Yeah.
And then we have a picture of Denman here as he's getting older in life.
sitting on a porch.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he also, you're surprised we don't have a picture of, he used to love to sit in the barn. Loved his barn better than anything else. So, you know, he could be barn doors open, sitting in a rocking chair. So,
Yeah. Doing what he liked.
yep.
Enjoyed.
Place
Yeah.
he felt comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And the last photograph is you and Julie. Now,
Trying to
this is
think.
you as,
Josh and Tildy.
yes. So you guys would have been brother and sister, right? Is that
Right.
what you're saying? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you guys, I always thought that there was an interest there.
No, well,
but
don't you get the
I do now.
the size of courting of Tildy and,
Yeah.
and Seth and
Right. But see, I thought there was a competition there. But it really wasn't. This was a brother and sister, and then Seth, and he was joking around with Seth. So I do understand the whole thing now. The more,
Well,
the
see,
more
I'm not
you
the
learn,
only
the
one.
more you get.
I mean, I was there all the time, and
Yeah.
it was over my head as
Right.
a young kid.
Yeah. Because seriously, the way they put it across, you just assume that there's a love interest there. All right, so the Old Homestead, is it ever coming back?
It won't be this year.
No.
There's talk amongst some of us. We can get the main people back, but it takes a lot of people to do it.
Right.
So.
Well, I must say that I was speaking with JoJo, and this is now on tape, but we would really love to see the Lions Club do something with this. Not to take over,
Yeah.
but to just help out so that we can keep this alive, because it's really important to keep something like this alive.
Ah.
So, all right, today, you want to end it? Swanzey
Oh.
Then and Now.
Yeah, today you've been watching Swanzey Then and Now with Jody and Lee.
All right, we'll see you soon.